Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question that might just shift your entire perspective on loving. When a man is truly captivated by a woman, one of the most powerful subconscious moves he makes is the creation of inside jokes. This isn't just about being funny or charming. It's about emotional anchoring, creating shared meaning that's unique to the two of you. Inside jokes act as miniature symbols of intimacy. They give both people something that no one else quite understands, and that exclusivity strengthens the emotional bond. It sends a clear message: what we have is different from what I have with anyone else. When a man does this, he's not trying to be clever for the sake of cleverness. He's building emotional territory, making you feel that you belong somewhere with him, not just anywhere in his life, but in a special, designated place. Inside jokes aren't always laugh out loud funny. Sometimes they're silly phrases, odd references, callbacks to a funny moment or awkward experience, or even playful imitations of something the other person said. The actual content doesn't matter nearly as much as the meaning it represents. It's his way of saying, I noticed this moment, and I wanted to freeze it so we could laugh about it again later. That repetition, that shared memory, is what makes it meaningful. It becomes a part of your relational identity. Every time he brings up that same line, he's bringing you back to the exact moment you both felt connected. It's nostalgia in real time. Men do this because humor creates safety. When someone can make you laugh, your defenses drop. But when someone makes you feel like you're both in on a joke that no one else gets, that's a step beyond just laughter. It's emotional intimacy. He's trying to communicate, I feel safe enough to play with you emotionally. That kind of vulnerability might seem small on the surface, but it represents something much deeper under the hood: trust. The psychology here ties back to how humans form an alliances. We are wired to bond with people through shared experiences. Inside jokes are social glue. In a romantic context, they turn casual conversation into coded language. You begin to feel like he sees you more clearly, like you're on the same wavelength. That sensation, feeling seen, is addictive because it validates your presence in his life. He's making mental space for you, even when you're not around, because those shared jokes live in his internal world too. It's also important to understand the confidence a man feels when he gets a woman to engage in an inside joke. It makes him feel like he's cracked a part of her code. That success reinforces his effort to invest further. He doesn't need to impress you with grand gestures if he knows he can make you smile with a 3-word joke only the two of you understand. That's where the real magic is. It's low-key, low-pressure, but deeply meaningful. It's sustainable connection, not performance. Sometimes these jokes evolve into small traditions. A word you always say when things go wrong. A face you both make at the same time. A phrase you text each other after a long day. These rituals form a micro-culture between two people. It's not just about chemistry anymore. It's about shared emotional rhythm. The more he builds this private world with you, the more emotionally committed he becomes. Because he starts to associate happiness, ease, and identity with your presence. You become the person he can be his uncensored self with. This is why a man who's falling for you might bring up something you said weeks ago in a funny or clever way. He's trying to keep that emotional doorway open. Every callback is a subtle invitation to return to closeness. In those moments, you're not just laughing together. You're reaffirming that you matter to him. When a man is deeply interested, one of the most telling signs is unconscious tendency to mirror your behavior. This isn't something he typically plans or controls. It's rooted in human psychology and social bonding. Mirroring occurs when one person subtly imitates the gestures, posture, tone, or speech patterns of another. It's an instinctive way to create rapport and increase feelings of connection. When a man is crazy about you, his body and brain naturally work together to sync with yours. This alignment helps him feel closer to you, and it helps you feel more understood and in tune with him. Even if you can't pinpoint why, mirroring can show up in very subtle ways. If you cross your legs, he might do the same a few moments later. If you lean forward, he leans in too. You speak in a certain rhythm or tone, and he unconsciously matches it. These aren't coincidences. They are physical representations of emotional alignment. His body is trying to say, I'm with get you. This level of synchrony builds subconscious trust. The more in sync two people are physically, the safer and more connected they tend to feel emotionally. This behavior stems from mirror neurons in the brain, cells that activate both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else doing it. These neurons play a key role in empath and bonding. When a man mirrors you, it's often because he's not just seeing you, he's feeling you. He's trying to step into your emotional experience, communicate he's right there with you. This connection goes beyond attraction, it moves into emotional intimacy, even if no words are exchanged about it. In social psychology, this is called the chameleon effect, and it's been shown to increase likability and bonding between people. The more someone mirrors you, the more you tend to like them, and vice versa. When a man is interested, he uses this effect subconsciously as a way to maintain emotional closeness. He might not even realize he's doing it, but on a deep level he's saying, I want to be more like you. I want to match your energy. I want to make sure you feel safe with me. Mirroring also plays into how we signal attraction. In romantic contexts, it becomes a way of building unspoken communication. You smile, he smiles. You tilt your head, he does the same. This feedback loop creates rhythm between two people. It's almost like dancing without music. And just like in dancing, good partners naturally sync up with one another when the chemistry is real. That synchronization builds momentum and makes the connection feel effortless. Beyond body language, mirroring can happen emotionally. You express excitement and he mirrors your enthusiasm. You get serious or introspective and he softens his tone. He tunes himself to your emotional state because invested in maintaining harmony with you. When a man is genuinely into you, he becomes highly responsive to your mood. That responsiveness isn't manipulation, it's connection. He wants to feel what you feel because it makes him feel close to you. This also explains why he might start adopting some of your preferences or expressions. He begins to quote your phrases, enjoy your favorite shows, or pick up habits you didn't even realize he noticed. It's not because he's trying to lose himself in you. It's because he wants more overlap between your worlds. The more similarities he can mirror, the common ground he feels you share. That common ground becomes the emotional foundation of the bond he's trying to build. When he mirrors you, he's not just aligning with your movements. He's aligning with energy, your values, and your emotional state. It's his way of creating resonance. That resonance makes interactions feel smoother, more familiar, and more emotionally rewarding. Without ever saying it directly, he's letting you know, I'm here with you. I feel this too. When a man is genuinely interested in more than just a casual connection, one of the most meaningful signs is when he starts asking about your past. This isn't just small talk or polite curiosity. It's a deep dive into understanding who you are beneath the surface. Asking about your past is his way of mapping your emotional landscape. He wants to know what shaped you, what broke you, and what still lingers in the corners of your heart. These aren't just stories to him. They are clues that help him figure out how to show up for you in a meaningful way. When a man asks about your past, he's often doing something much deeper than gathering facts. He's studying your emotional patterns. He wants to know what made you trust someone, what made you lose trust, how you've been hurt, and how you've grown. These questions aren't always direct. Sometimes they come wrapped in casual phrasing, like what was your last relationship like? Or what were you like in high school? But underneath those surface-level questions is a deeper desire to connect with the version of you that's been through life. The version that didn't just arrive here polished and put together but came through trials, heartbreaks, triumphs, and transitions. This behavior comes from a place of emotional investment. When someone is crazy about you, they don't just want the highlight reel, they want the director's cut. They want to know the behind-the-scenes moments, the stories that made you cry, the people who helped you grow, the mistakes you made, and the lessons you learned. Not because they're nosy or invasive, but because they are building context. To understand you fully, he knows he has to understand what came before him. If he only engages with the present version of you, he's missing the depth. But by exploring your past, he learns how to love you better. Asking about your past is also his way of testing emotional compatibility. He's listening for values, priorities, red flags, and alignment. He's asking himself, can I meet her where she's been? Can I handle the weight she carries? Can I add peace where there was once pain? These aren't always conscious thoughts, but emotionally mature men, especially those who've experienced heartbreak themselves, intuitively look for this kind of connection. He doesn't just want chemistry. He wants clarity. And clarity often lives in your past. There's also a protective instinct at play. When a man really cares, he wants to protect you not just from future pain but from the echoes of past pain. If he knows you were cheated on before, he'll go out of his way to be transparent. If he learns you were neglected emotionally, he'll try to be present in ways that make you feel seen. This level of attentiveness isn't performative, it's responsive. It means he's not just hearing your words, he's holding your story. And that kind of holding builds trust. The questions he asks about your past are also a reflection of his willingness to be vulnerable himself. Often, when someone opens the door to your past, they are silently hoping you'll ask about theirs too. It becomes a shared exchange. He tells you about his first heartbreak, his difficult childhood, the mentor who changed his life, the mistake that still haunts him, not to gain empathy, but to show you that he trusts you with his unfiltered truth. That mutual opening creates emotional safety. And safety is where deep love begins. When he asks about your past, it means he's not afraid of the messy, the real, the complex. He wants to understand the whole picture, not just the polished frame. Because when a man is truly falling for you, He doesn't just fall for who you are, he falls for how you became who you are. And knowing that story gives him the tools to build something lasting with you. When a man is deeply invested in a woman, there comes a point where he starts to test his importance to her. Not out of manipulation, but out of emotional vulnerability. These tests are often subtle and unspoken, but they carry weight. They usually happen when the initial excitement of connection begins to evolve into deeper emotional stakes. He starts to care about whether he's as important to you as you are becoming to him, and because most men are taught to avoid directly expressing emotional needs, they test it instead. This testing can come across as pulling back slightly, delaying a response, going quiet after being very engaged, or even making a small comment like, "You seem busy lately," or "You don't miss me, do you?" These aren't games. They're emotional temperature checks. When a man tests his importance, it's usually because he's begun to associate emotional risk with you. He's vulnerable. He started to care about your opinions, your presence, your approval. That care triggers a quiet fear. What if I'm more into her than she is into me? What if I'm investing more than I should? These fears don't come from insecurity alone, they come from emotional exposure. Anyone who has ever cared deeply knows what it feels like to worry whether those feelings are fully returned. And because men are often socialized to value independence and emotional control, they may not ask directly for reassurance. Instead, they create situations that reveal it. He might pull back just a little to see if you notice. He might wait to text you first, just to see if you'll reach out. He might act distracted in conversation to see if you try to reconnect the energy. These small behavioral shifts aren't about playing hard to get. They're ways of asking an unspoken question. Do I matter to you in the way you're starting to matter to me? When a man does this, perfect, he's seeking evidence that he's not alone in his emotional investment. He wants to feel like he's not the only one showing up fully. Sometimes these tests appear in the form of emotional sharing. He might tell you about something that makes him feel insecure or something from his past that he hasn't shared with many people. And then he waits. Not for a solution but for a reaction. He's not only testing whether you'll accept his vulnerability, he's testing whether you'll hold it with care. If your response tells him whether he can trust him with more of his emotional world, if he feels safe, he goes deeper. If he feels dismissed, he retreats. These tests aren't always about dramatic gestures. Sometimes they come down to how quickly you respond to a message, or whether you remember a detail he shared. He pays attention to how present you are in the dynamic, how invested you seem in his day, his ideas, his life. If he shares something exciting and you're indifferent, he notices. If he disappears for a bit and you don't ask why, he notices. These reactions serve as emotional data. They help him decide whether to lean in or pull away. This behavior also reveals a core truth. Even confident, emotionally stable men want to feel chosen. They may not express it with words, but their actions seek confirmation that they're not replaceable, not just another option. Being tested in this way doesn't mean he doubts your worth. It means he's starting to realize yours. He sees the possibility of something real, and real things come with real emotional stakes. When he tests his importance to you, it's not because he wants to create drama. It's because he's starting to imagine a future where you matter deeply. And he's quietly hoping you're imagining the same. When a man is truly captivated by a woman, one of the most instinctive behaviors he exhibits is the urge to compete for her attention. This isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's playful, and other times it's deeply strategic without him even realizing he's doing it. The core of this behavior lies in a man's natural desire to stand out, to be seen as valuable, and ultimately to be chosen. When he senses that other people could also be vying for your interest, or even when he simply wants to secure a deeper emotional connection, his instinct is to elevate himself in your eyes. He doesn't want to be one of many. He wants to be the one who lingers in your thoughts after everyone else is gone. This competitive instinct can show up in social settings. If you're in a group and other men are present, you might notice him suddenly becoming more engaged, funnier, or more assertive. He may lean in more during conversation, touch your hand lightly to maintain connection, or direct more attention your way even while talking to others. What's happening in these moments is a silent recalibration of energy. He senses a shift, and he responds by trying to reestablish his position, not because he's threatened, but because he values what he has with you and doesn't want to risk fading into the background. It's not just about impressing you with achievements or being charming. It's often about emotional presence. He listens more carefully, responds more thoughtfully, remembers more details. He might mention something you told days ago just to show you that he was paying attention when others weren't. He knows that attention is currency in emotional connection, and he uses it as a quiet form of power. When a man wants your attention, he starts investing more of his own. That's not manipulation, it's a form of intentional energy. He's hoping that his effort speaks where his words might not. Sometimes this behavior shows up when you're slightly unavailable. You might be distracted, on your phone, or talking to someone else, and suddenly he starts something to pull your focus back. Maybe he cracks a joke, shares an interesting story, or even shifts his body language to open back up toward you. These aren't random moves, they're strategic bits for re-engagement. He's saying, without saying, "Look at me again. I want to be the one you're drawn to." There are also quieter, more emotional forms of this competition. He may too offer you something no one else does, a deeper conversation, a different perspective, an emotional anchor when others stay surface level. He wants to differentiate himself, not just by what he says or does, but by how he makes you feel. If he can create an emotional experience that no one else is giving you, he believes he'll stand out not just in the moment, but in your memory. This is especially true for emotionally intelligent me who know that connection isn't built on volume or flashiness, but on resonance. The deeper reason a man competes for your attention is because your attention is proof of your interest. It's how he knows he's not chasing a ghost, that his feelings are being reflected in some way. He doesn't need constant validation, but he does need signs that his presence matters. Every time you choose to engage with him, laugh at his joke, ask him a deeper question, or even glance his way in a crowded room, he feels a quiet win. Those small wins compound, giving him confidence to open up further, pursue you more directly, and invest more emotionally. This type of competition is never about beating others in a game. It's about standing out to the one person who matters, you. It's about putting effort into a connection that feels rare. When he competes for your attention, he's expressing through behavior what he might yet have the words to say. You're worth the effort, and he's willing to rise above the noise to make sure you feel it. When a man starts to envision a future with you, his language, behavior, and planning begin to shift in subtle yet powerful ways. Instead of focusing only on the present moment, he starts integrating you into his long-term thoughts, decisions, and dreams. This isn't about making dramatic declarations or rushing into commitments. It's about the small, consistent signals that show he's mentally and emotionally projecting you into his future. You'll notice it in the way he talks. Simple phrases like, "We should try that place sometime," or "next summer, we could go there together," are not casual throwaways. They're early signs of emotional integration. He's not just imagining the future anymore, he's imagining it with you in it. This behavior is a strong indicator of emotional investment. Men who are unsure or emotionally unavailable to avoid future-oriented language. They keep conversations rooted in the present, making sure not to set expectations or plant seeds of permanence. But when a man is genuinely into you, the future becomes a comfortable space to include you in. He may not even realize how naturally he's doing it. It might start with planning next weekend, then a trip a few months away, then casually imagining what your life could look like if you lived closer, moved in together, or even had a family. These thoughts may not always be spoken out loud, but when they are, it's a sign he feels emotionally safe with the idea of continuity. Men tend to visualize their future when they feel aligned with someone's values, energy, and rhythm. It's not just about physical attraction or shared interests. It's about emotional compatibility and lifestyle synergy. When a man starts placing you in future scenarios, it means he sees potential in what you're building together. He sees you as someone who could be a stable part of his life, someone he could rely on, grow with, and experience life beside. This isn't fantasy, it's emotional groundwork. It shows that his heart is starting to build a home in your presence. Sometimes, envisioning the future includes logistical or practical conversations. He may ask about your long-term goals, where you see yourself living, what you think about children, careers, travel, or finances. These aren't interrogations, they're curiosity fueled by care. He wants to know if your paths are compatible because he's no longer just looking at whether you fit into his in now, but whether you fit into his woo next. This type of conversation marks a deeper layer of intimacy. It's not just emotional, it's strategic. He's gathering information to see how the future with you might unfold realistically. You may also notice him bringing you closer into his existing life, introducing you to his family, including you in gatherings with close friends, or seeking your opinion on important decisions. These moments are his way of blending his world with yours, testing how it feels to have you as a consistent part of it. He's not doing this to impress you, he's doing it because he's already imagining what it would be like to share his space, his time, his milestones with you. When a man begins to emotionally rely on you in this way, it means he's moved beyond short-term thinking. He's considering permanence. This kind of future talk isn't always planned or polished. It often comes out in passing, in a moment of connection, or when he's feeling especially close to you. He might imagine you doing something with him 6 months from now, or say something as simple as, "You'd love my mom's cooking," or "One day, I'll take you to this place I grew up in." These statements carry weight not because of their grandiosity but because of their emotional clarity. He's saying, in essence, I see you in the parts of my life that haven't happened yet. And that level of inclusion reveals the depth of what he's feeling.